How's it? Welcome to the Real SA channel. If you're new to this channel, go on and smash that subscribe button at the bottom of your screen. In this video, we are going to be looking at the South African Reserve Bank, also known as SARB. Please feel free to leave your comments down below. Let's get started. Rocking. Today, we will educate ourselves by giving you answers to the following questions. 1. Who is SARB? Who is the South African Reserve Bank? 2. What is the purpose of the South African Reserve Bank? And 3. How old is the South African Reserve Bank? When was it established? Under what conditions was the South African Reserve Bank established? 4. What is the primary objective of the South African Reserve Bank? 5. Who owns the South African Reserve Bank? I know most of the people don't know who owns South African Reserve Bank, and today we're gonna answer that question. Where is the South African Reserve Bank located? If you're looking for South African Reserve Bank, where do you go? That will be answered in today's video, in this video. What is the South African Reserve Bank interest rate? And this is the lending rate which the bank lends the money to other banks. And finally, who is the current and the past governors of the South African Reserve Bank? And I must remind you, before we get to answer the questions, that this video is part of a series called South African Monetary Systems. So this is not the first and the last video where we'll be talking about the Reserve Bank. There's many more to follow. We need to look into the history of the Reserve Bank. We need to look into the South African currency. That will be covered in future videos. If you subscribe to this channel, you will definitely be the first to know. Without any further ado, let's jump in and answer the first question, which is, who is the South African Reserve Bank? The South African Reserve Bank, also known as SARB, which we call SARB, is a central bank of the Republic of South Africa. This is an equivalent if you were to make comparison to other countries. For instance, if you take India, their central bank is called the Reserve Bank of India. If you go to other countries like in your United States, they have a Federal Reserve Bank. And here in South Africa, we call it the South African Reserve Bank. The second question is, what is the purpose of the South African Reserve Bank? We will answer this in 2 points, in 2 bullet points. The first one is that the Reserve Bank has a purpose, which is to achieve and maintain price balance and sustainable economic growth. Secondly, together with other institutions. So in South Africa, you find a lot of other institutions. As an example, the Treasury, the guys that collect the money and decide where the money goes, as well as the South African Revenue Services, which we're going to talk about in one of the next videos, because South African Revenue Services is one of the key institutions in South Africa that enables the government to collect money so that they can be able to deliver services. As to whether or not they deliver those services, we will discuss that in different videos. But the South African Reserve Bank plays a pivotal role in ensuring financial stability, and that is very crucial. The next question is, how old is the South African Reserve Bank? The South African Reserve Bank has been around for almost 100 years. It's 99 years old. Reserve Bank was established in 1921. That's after Parliament of the Republic of South Africa at the time. And of course, that refers to the apartheid government passed an act known as the Currency and Bank Act of 10 August 1920. The next question then is, what is the primary objective of the South African Reserve Bank? The primary objective of the bank, it is to protect the value of the currency in the interest of balanced and sustainable economic growth in the Republic. So one key function there, it is to ensure that there is sustainable economic growth in the Republic of South Africa. We will delve into details in terms of what that means on one of our videos, but most importantly, it is to ensure that the interest rates are kept in check so that you don't end up with a situation where it becomes impossible to borrow money due to the amount that you have to pay back, an interest rate which you have to pay back to the bank, because that would then stop people from lending money and that would stifle the economic growth. Next up is who owns the South African Reserve Bank. The South African Reserve Bank, and this may be shocking to many people, even to myself at some point, I was not aware of that. But when I discovered it, I was like, oh, wow. The South African Reserve Bank is privately owned. There's about 750 shareholders that actually own the South African Reserve Bank. However, there are rules in terms of how much dividends they can get. Where is the Reserve Bank located? The Reserve Bank is located in the capital of the Republic of South Africa, and the capital of the Republic of South Africa is Pretoria. And I know some of you will say, hey, guess what? That's not entirely true. I agree. It's probably not entirely true because South Africa has got three capitals, but we will discuss that in a different video to follow. But for now, in this video, let's take it as a fact because that's where the buildings of South African Reserve Bank is located, in Pretoria, and Pretoria is known as the capital of the Republic of South Africa. What is the interest rate at which other banks borrow from the South African Reserve Bank? Currently, at the time of this video, the interest rate was at about 6.5%. This is quite fluid, but it's generally around that figure. I mean, I don't recall at any point where it was below 6%, and I don't recall at any point where it was above 7%. So give or take, it's somewhere between 6 and 6.9%, and it changes depending on the economic conditions. But as we stand, it is currently sitting at 6.5%. And finally, who are the current and the past governors of the Reserve Bank? First, we will start with the current governor of the Reserve Bank, and that is Mr. Lesetja Kganyago. Let me say it again, Lesetja Kganyago. He started on the job in 2014, and he was again re-elected after his first term lapsed. He was then reappointed by the President of the Republic, and he is the current governor of the Reserve Bank. Before him, there was Jill Marcus. She served one term, and that was from 2009 until 2014. And the terms for the governors is 5 years. So she served only one term, whereas Mr. Kganyago is now currently serving his second term. Before Jill Marcus, from 1999 until 2009, we had Mr. Tito Mboweni. Those, ladies and gentlemen, are the past and current governors of the South African Reserve Bank. And of course, there were many before, since 1921, since the bank was founded, but we're not going to go far back on that in this video. However, we're going to look at the history of the South African Reserve Bank, and we will definitely cover the details in terms of who was the governor at what point. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to click that subscribe button and click the bell so that you get the notification. And if you really enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up.